Deciding which credit card or loan is right for you is like trying to choose where you want to eat for dinner. Except when you finally get to the restaurant, the menu's riddled with jargon that no average foodie could understand. So at Credit Karma, we keep things simple. We show you personalized recommendations that align with your money goals and help you turn the confusing fine print into terms you can actually understand. And as a cherry on top, we provide a detailed overview for a new card or loan before you apply. That way, we can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
The time for holiday hosting is upon us, so make your second bathroom second to none with HomeDepot.com's best savings of the season. Right now, enjoy up to 40% off select online bath. Find the latest on-trend styles of vanities, faucets, showers, tubs, toilets, and more, all at prices that will let your budget relax right along with you and your beautifully renovated bath. Get up to 40% off select online bath plus free delivery at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see HomeDepot.com/delivery for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AEye Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AEye Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AEye Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AEye Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Carl Matchett. How are you, sir?
Magnificent and down from the mountains. How are you?
I'm tremendous today. It's minging outside, but I'm good. Right, we are here today to discuss Chelsea, but before we get to that, we were set a task by Harry Welchie, an all-time 11, but here's the kicker. You can only pick players from clubs or countries that start with the first letters of your name, first name or surname. I will allow Holland for Hendrick, and I'll also allow Dortmund. As it's Friday and I'm generous, I'll allow K or C for Carl. So that opens up Croatia. Clubs or countries' names, they have to start with D and H or C, K and M. All the best and look forward to your choices. So we have done this, and I am feeling very confident with my team. The discovery, because I hadn't read this properly, but the discovery that I could have H for Holland and D for Dortmund made me very happy. So, Mr. Carl Matchett, I will ask you for your goalkeeper.
Right. Well, I didn't do clubs. I've just done countries because my brain power at this hour is not enormous and I can't read properly. And I started off by doing it all wrong anyway. I am, however, very thankful that he allowed me C instead of K, given that the countries beginning with K limited to the all-time greats of Kazakhstan, Kenya, Kiribati, Kuwait, and Kyrgyzstan, which is it's not many, is it? I mean, we had the guy shout of Victor Wanyama, and then even those nonsense quotes sort of dried up from him very, very quickly. He didn't give me Kuwaiti's all-time top scorer, for example. Disappointing, if I'm being honest, but a C did definitely help. I wasn't expecting too many, even so, out of the list of about 7 viable nations that I had from C&M, but I do have 4 goalkeepers to pick from in the end. Do you just want my number 1?
No, give me the honourable mentions as well, because you've done a lot. You've put down a lot of names, so we might as well honour the work you've put in. So give me your honourable mentions and then give me your first choice.
We do love to sort of reminisce about the players of yesteryear. So 2 Colombians from C, obviously, René Higuita and Farid Mondragon. one rather more memorable for actual goalkeeping and the other one for other things, shall we say. From Mexico, we got Jorge Campos. But my first choice is actually Costa Rica's Keylor Navas.
That's a good choice. That's the reliable choice. That's the Champions League winning choice. Yes, so I was going to just do international teams, and then initially I looked at it, and the countries beginning with D were Democratic Republic of Congo, Denmark, Djibouti, Dominica, and Dominican Republic. So I had Denmark for D, and then for H, I had Haiti, Holy See, Honduras, and Hungary, with allowances, I think, made for Hanseatic republics. So basically, my team was initially going to have to be all Denmark and Hungary players if I decided to do just internationals. But then we got the revelation about Holland, and then I went and I looked at what Mark had actually put in, and realised it was that Dortmund would count for me as well. So I wanted one Dortmund player, and then I sort of lost the run of myself and put in 1, 2, 3, 4 other players based on clubs. But my goalkeeper is an international pick from Denmark, Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah, I think if you've got a D, that's Schmeichel is going to be the one for over most, unless your surname happened to be beginning with I suppose. And then you've got quite the range of options. I think yours is probably the better goalkeeper across the board, isn't he? But I reckon mine makes more spectacular saves, so more people want to watch Keylor.
Right. In defence, the revelation saved me, because I was lost and going to probably have to name
Yannick
a couple of mediocre defenders. Well, Torben Picnic was featuring strongly in my thought process. But from Dortmund, playing it right back where he'd be more than comfortable, Matthias Sammer. Now, 2 central defenders will come from Holland. Frank Rijkaard, who finished his career playing there for Ajax, and the great Virgil van Dijk, of course. And then my left back, and you're going to love this, one of the greatest left backs who ever played the game, a player who starred for Brazil, who's probably best known for his time at Real Madrid, who also played for Palmeiras and Inter Milan and Fenerbahce and Corinthians and Anzi, and then retired for 3 years. But then came out of retirement 3 years later to play for Delhi Dynamos. Roberto Carlos, 3 billions for Delhi Dynamos when he was appointed manager, decided to just throw himself in. And Roberto Carlos becomes a viable candidate for my left-back position and saves my defence. Tremendous.
That's astonishing, and astonishingly bad form on your behalf. 3 games, atrocious.
3 games.
Fair enough. I see how this is going then, and then Matthias Sammer right back. Yeah, all right. That means I'm going to change mine around a little bit if you're going that fast and loose with the positional play. Let's say a back 3 here then for me. I'll get rid of one of them. Very sorry, Joel Matip hasn't quite made the cut here as one of Cameroon's finest, obviously. A few other centre-backs who missed out. Slaven Bilic, who I did very much like. Mario Yepes from Colombia's finest. And I've just ditched Dario Serna from right back as well. So I've got a back 3 instead. Ivan Cordoba, Colombian, very fond of a booking. Inter Milan, special stuff.
No.
Yeah, he's in as my right-sided centre-back. A bit of class right in the heart of the defence. Someone to bring the ball out of defence. Someone to point quite a lot and also have really majestic hair. I've got Rafa Marquez, Mexico, obviously. And then I've got a Croatian left-sided centre-back tucking in. Probably not able to bomb down the wing quite as much as he actually liked to do, apart from when he was at Coventry. That's Robert Yanni.
Oh, yes. Love that. Love a bit of Robert Yanni. No honourable mention for Dejan the Pebble Lovren?
I haven't. He missed the cut of honourable mention just because there was like 17 others, including like Kim Min-jae and Mario Yepes and, well, many, many others, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair. And I mean, there's probably a couple of Q80 centre-backs that we're overlooking who would be ahead of him as well. Right, midfield.
Yeah.
I've gone Michael Laudrup from Denmark.
Solid.
My all-time favourite player. From Dinamo Zagreb, I've got Luka Modric.
Oh.
And then Mr. Matchett. Then. A German international, best known for his time with Bayern Munich. Also played for Inter Milan and went back to Bayern. Made his name with Borussia Mönchengladbach, but began and ended his career with Herzogenaurach. Lothar Herbert Matthäus. Tremendous.
That's
tremendous. That's what that is. Tremendous is what that is.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to get to the forward line and find out that Pele had like 2 games on loan at Hartlepool or something like that, but whatever. Yeah, Laudrup, I mean, wow. Amazing player. What a player. I think your team is probably a bit more across the board better than mine, but my joker in the pack is that you haven't actually got Modric. I have, because I've gazumped him by country getting obviously priority over clubs when it comes to call-ups. So
have you looked into the history of Dinamo Zagreb and the corruption that reigns with their former owner, who was a very close personal friend of Luka Modric, and was more than happy to funnel quite a substantial amount of money into his pockets to secure his nomination for Team Hendrick?
I'm afraid that in hairy Welsh UEFA, the rules don't apply there, and money has absolutely no value whatsoever. So I get Modric and you have 10 men. That's just how it goes. You'll be delighted to know, however, that Modric will be alongside players of equal standing in midfield. I'm playing a 5-man midfield, but it's an asymmetrical 5, shall we say. So Modric in the centre along with Zvonimir Boban.
Oh, yes.
Obviously.
What a player.
Obviously. And just to like fill out the middle of the park a bit more, not with any actual physicality, but with hair, is Carlos Valderrama.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I've got wing-backs to do 2 different types of role here, because on the left, we've got Robert Yanni, who loves to actually be a wing-back and be able to play that side. So we need someone to be on the left, but not hog the left. So I've got Patrick Berger, actually, for a bit of ingenuity and, a few long-range goals, because we're not going to be able to get past your actual defence that much, so we have to shoot from a long way out. But on the right-hand side, because I've got Ivan Cordoba, that side of defence, I don't need anybody else. He will just eat everybody who comes down that flank, including Roberto Carlos with his 2 games on loan at whoever the fuck it was. So my right-sided wing-back, because he played right side for Inter Milan, and because it was, shall we say, somewhat defensive side at times. He started a long way back up the pitch on that right-hand side. So it's Samuel Eto'o.
I like it.
It's fitting.
Played wide in the European Cup winning team for Inter Milan as well. Let's not forget.
Yep. So I'm saying it was a very deep wide role from starting position. So
it's basically an advanced fullback under Jose.
Who you got up front?
Well, so you've taken Luka Modric, and you know what? I'm prepared, because I'm gracious. Unlike you, who've gotten bitter over my genius take of Roberto Carlos, I'm going to allow you to have Luka Modric, and I'm going to take him out of my team and replace him. But because you've made a little dig about a player being on loan, he wasn't on loan. He was the manager of the club. He was there for reasons. He was on the job. I've decided to go for a player who did once play on loan for a club that begins with a D. Now, this player is best known for his times at Sparta Prague, Lazio, and Juventus. This is a player you could have had because he hails from the Czech Republic. But in 1991, a young midfielder called Pavel Nedved went on loan to Dukla Prague, and I'm taking up an ace on his 19 games there. So Pavel Nedved, come on down.
You're welcome to. That's fine. There's only so much room in any one team for magnificent heads of hair, and I think I've got mine sorted.
Well, I've got Laudrup, who had good hair. Nedved, who's got great hair. Zammer, who had no hair. Carlos, who had no hair. But Virgil has tremendous hair.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. Yeltsin had good hair in the 80s as well.
By the 80s standards, let's not go too far.
By 80s standards, exactly right. Right. Give me your forward line then.
My forward line. So it's only two strikers, obviously, which is very difficult to do because this list goes on a long way. I'll give you a few of the honourable mentions, not all of them. These are the ones that didn't make it then. Alan Boksic, Roger Milla, Tino Asprilla, Marcelo Salas, Thomas Scaravi, Cuauhtémoc Blanco, Alexis Sanchez, Heung-min Son Heung-min even. It was me. Roger Milla, we could go on. But the ones who did make it, Davor Suker and Hugo Sanchez.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I adore both players. Hugo Sanchez, the best one-touch finisher of all time. And Davor Suker's run with Real Madrid included some of the most spectacular goals you'll ever see. And his chip over Peter Schmeichel, I want to say at Hillsborough in Euro 96. I think the game was at Hillsborough. It remains one of the great goals scored in international tournament football.
And will, of course, be replicated in this match between yours and my team.
Well, it won't, though, because unfortunately for him, I've got Frank Rijkaard patrolling the right side of my defence, while Matthias Zammer pushes forward to, add supplemental support to my now very attack-minded midfield with Laudrup and Nedved. So my 4-3-3 becomes a 3-box-3 with Laudrup and Nedved in attacking roles, Zammer and Matthias holding the midfield, hating each other, by the way, but still doing the job to a very high level. Right, my forward line, my number 9 from Dynamo Kiev, Shevchenko. Mm-hmm. And then either side of him, I had to get some Hungarian players in because Hungary gave us one of the greatest teams of all time back in the 1950s, the mighty Magyars. Ferenc Puskás and Sandor Kocsis, two of the greatest goal scorers of all time. Kocsis, 75 international goals in 68 games. Also played for Honved, so I could have had him at the club side either. And Ferenc Puskás, who scored 84 goals in 85 games at the international level, and also played for Honved, so I could have had him either way. So Koksix, Shevchenko, and Puskas up front. That is a ridiculous team, I should say.
Yeah.
Michael, Zammer, Rijkaard, Van Dijk, Carlos, Laudrup, Mateus, Nedved, Koksix, Shevchenko, and Puskas.
I do have one question about your team.
Yeah.
How many pieces are you cutting up the armband into to deal around?
There's only one armband. There's only one armband needed.
Is it Zamel?
No. They're going to allow Lothar Matthäus to be team captain, because otherwise he'd be the biggest pain in the arse anyone had ever met in their entire lives. He's also the only one who's a World Cup winning captain, and therefore he can pull rank.
Fair, that is fair. I'm still claiming the moral high ground here for my victory with the hair stakes. I just don't think you
beat me on hair when you put Valderrama in.
Yeah.
There's just no, like, Valderrama is the ultimate hair trump card.
Yeah.
Magnificent.
But like the forecast as well. Hugo Sanchez's hair in his playing days, of course,
Tremendous. Yeah.
magnificent. Suker, brilliant.
Yeah.
Berger, probably an overlooked aspect these days.
Still has great hair.
And Markev, obviously, that's a real collection.
So,
And Rene Higuita on the bench with his hair.
the question is, with all the cigars that your players will be smoking,
Yeah.
because Rafa Marquez played the game in his slippers, puffing on a cigar.
Mm.
Valderrama very much the same. I think Patrick Berger looks like the type of man who'd enjoy a cigar and maybe a fine single malt whiskey. Davor Suker the same. I'm not sure your team would be up for playing.
I think you're forgetting the fact that Rene Higuita has one or two sidelines to his career, and Ivan Cordova is on the pitch as well.
Cordova just going around booting everybody up in the air, and Rene Higuita handing out lines to people. Magnificent. Right, we should talk a bit about Chelsea then. I think it's fair to say, Carl, that they are performing slightly above expectations thus far this season. Mm-hmm. They've put together a fairly decent run. Again, they've had a weaker schedule in recent weeks, but they lose on the opening day at home to City. Then they go to Wolves and they beat them 6-2. Now that scoreline slightly flattered them. It was 2-2 at half-time, and Wolves collapsed in the second half. They drew at home with Crystal Palace. They went to Bournemouth and won 1-0, a game they really should have lost. They were very, very impressive against West Ham in a 3-0 win. They played Brighton, and we were all witness to maybe the worst display of defensive intelligence from both teams in what was a 4-2 win for Chelsea. And then last time out, a 1-1 draw at home to Nottingham Forest. They're fourth in the league. And ultimately, that's got to make them happy, considering new manager. Last season was a bit of a mess. The season before was a complete disaster. The Todd Bowley era seems to be coming to an end, with a lot of talk that either him or one of his partners are going to have to sell their shares because they just can't work together anymore. There's been a lot of chaos in terms of they appointed an awful lot of people to the front office, and seemingly 2 and 3 people for pretty much every role, and nobody seems to have a defined vision of what they want Chelsea to be. They've signed every footballer in the world under the age of 17 and will eventually bring them to the club. But what do you make of them so far? Because I look at them and I think they're not good defensively. That midfield still doesn't function the way you would want a midfield double pivot to function. Despite the exceptional abilities of both, they don't complement each other very well. And then in attack, it's very much they go as Cole Palmer goes. And if he struggles to impact games, which he has multiple times this season, they get a bit stuck in the mud. When he's on it, they look outrageous going forward. What do you make of them?
So a little bit of that, and also a little bit like they're not playing the way that Maresca wants them to yet, and he kind of accepts that, and especially sort of much later in the second half, he kind of mitigates that by going for the result rather than the performance, if you know what I mean. Like Chelsea or Maresca are able, because of the sheer numbers that they have, to try something else and something else and something else in attack. And eventually, against a lot of teams, real quality in attack will just overwhelm you. Like we'll see it with Liverpool this year. Even in games that we don't play well, we can just change the whole front three or take off a midfielder and play sort of three new faces in the final third and be like four up front. And eventually teams will make a mistake. That quality will tell. The numbers will have their way and they'll win by goals. And at the minute, I think Chelsea are out shooting teams quite a bit. Not in a statistical way. I just mean like in a outgunning them way. They are basically able to change from a Palmer, Noni Madueke, Jackson kind of attack where like lots is on the ground, running into the channels, quick 1-2s, that kind of thing, to Neto on the flank, João Felix playing off whichever forward is left on the pitch, Palmer changing up his position and pushing somebody else really, really high upfield, or bringing on like a Jadon Sancho into the team, that kind of thing. And the whole dynamic of the attack changes then in the last 20 minutes of matches. And quite a few times, that's how they've managed to get victories. Like against Bournemouth, for example, you picked out that game not too long ago. They were not the better team in that game, but they changed so much of that attack in the second half that it was a different way that Bournemouth had to defend. And just on one occasion, that got through. Like one bit of skill, one moment of individuality instead of the combined play that they're trying to do most of the time. And that happened to work. And against a lot of poor to middling teams, that will be the case. And I think that that's fine if you're like just being pragmatic enough as the head coach to think it's going to take me longer to do what I want to do with the whole team. So for now, let's just make the use of the attack. Like, as long as that's not the overall thing that he tries to do, I think over the longer term that will like drop off, or it won't work against certain teams, or basically the coach will, the squad will find him out as not really having elite level ideas, and that's never a good thing for a Chelsea boss, especially. But at the minute, year one, half year one, I suppose for him, that's fine. Like, he's getting big wins in quite a few games. Put 6 past Wolves, like you mentioned. They put 5 or 6 past Barrow. I know it's a very small side, but again, if you're coming into the team for cup matches and all the rest of it, and you're racking up big scores and scoring a goal and feel like you're pushing yourself towards the front of the queue, that's still a big positive. Then if you're putting like 3 or 4 goals past a Brighton and a West Ham and that kind of thing, again, that's just going to keep things going. It feels to me that they are still a poor result away from not crumbling, but certainly that you see it's a real setback. Like if we were to beat them, and let's just make up a scoreline of 3-0, for example, because we were completely on our game in every aspect, I don't think that we would necessarily see them bounce back against Panathinaikos and Newcastle again in the Cup and Man United. Like they might have those games, but it's a really, like, it's a tough run that they have coming up, but I just don't see that there's the absolute conviction in the way that they play at the minute. I think a lot of it is still a bit reactive and a lot of it is still instinctive in attack. Again, I think that's fine for where they are and how long Maresca has been there. It's just that is not a completely sustainable way to keep going with the run of wins that they've had, which is 5 out of the last 6 they've won. They've only lost 1 game out of the last 8 or 9. And even with that game they lost, they still went through on aggregate in Europe. So I think they're doing fine. I don't think that they're an amazing side, and they have had a run of 4 games at home just now, which has obviously contributed a lot to the wins in a row. But yeah, I think they're good, and I think that at the minute, with most of the rest of the league, good is probably good enough to get you top 6, and then if you've got a really good attack, that might be what gets you 4th.
Yeah, so in all competitions so far, they've played 11 games. They've won 7, drawn 2, and lost 2. They lost to City on the opening day, which everybody expected, and then they lost to Servette, which is the game you referenced that didn't really matter. They've scored 28 goals, which is impressive. They're averaging 2.5 goals per game, and they've only conceded 12 goals. So I don't think they're good defensively, but they're not conceding an abundance of goals. Do they remind you of a certain Liverpool team 11 years ago that was shaky in defence, had a lot of talent in midfield, and were sensational in the final third and could just overwhelm teams with that brilliance, and were very much of the mindset of, you might score 1, you might get 2, but we can always get 2, 3, 4, 5. It reminds me of that Rodgers era team when he just gave up. Now, he was further into his tenure, admittedly, but he completely put his beliefs and his fundamentals and his ideals of how a team should play to one side and pushed all the cards into the middle on this team that functioned around one brilliant attacker. Now, they don't have an attacker anywhere close to the quality of Suarez, but they're a little bit better individually defensively, and they've got more attackers. Like you mentioned, they've got probably 7, 8 attackers who are definitely starter quality in the Premier League for a good level team. It feels like that to me, where they're willing to play this style, willing to take the risk that, yeah, we might concede a goal or 2, but we believe we can score 2 or 3 every time out. And that's just what they're leaning into now. And maybe the manager has decided that the best way, like we saw even when Jurgen took over, how he lent heavily into, we're going to score our way into the top 4 and then we'll fix the defence. And it feels a little bit to me like that's what Maresca has leaned into. We're going to go blitzkrieg. We're going to score enough goals to win as many games as we can, get ourselves into top 4, and then next summer, then we'll look at fixing the defence and look at implementing more of what I want to do, which is pretty much what Jurgen did as well.
Yeah, possibly a bit. Like I say, I don't think that they're fully in that. I think he is trying to control games from the start quite a lot. It's just that if that's not working later on, then I think he sort of looks at that bench and utilises that option, sort of the go nuclear, let's win the shootout kind of one. But I do think that, like, from a lot of time at the start of matches, this still looks a lot more like Potter Chelsea than Rodgers Liverpool, for example. Right? It's the attempt to control, it's the attempt to build up in certain areas, it's the attempt to sort of have your off the ball set first and then see what you do. Better than Potter's was doing in terms of like progressing into the final third in particular, but not quite as gung-ho as that. But at the same time, they're open. That's the problem. Like you say, they're not amazing defensively. I think he's more or less settled on what he would prefer to be his regular back line, but it's not completely solid, is it? I'm surprised that Sanchez has stayed first choice, but he's had a couple of games where he's made really big saves, to be fair. Not outstanding all the way through the year, but decent enough to start, I guess. Might be like a one-season kind of changeover thing where Jorgensen's cup keeper or whatever, and eventually that's the changeover. I think Mal Augusto as a right-back is good, but not necessarily entirely brilliantly utilised in this particular setup. I don't like Vega playing fullback, that's for sure. I think as a midfield destroyer, maybe you can utilise him there, but I don't like him when he's played left back.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.